Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're hearing my voice or seeing my fascinating face and curlers today. Welcome to today's Daily Scare Share. Today is actually day 189. 189 days. That means tomorrow's day 190. 190 days. Pretty soon it'll be 200 days of doing one thing a day that stretches my comfort zone, gets me out of the rut that I've been living in, and just moves me toward what it is that I want in my life and what I'm trying to create. So often we find ourselves going in the opposite direction of what we want because we're not paying attention to what we want. We're paying attention to the fact that we don't have it yet. And if we don't have it yet, guess what? We get more of we don't have it yet. And we push it further and further and further away. But if we focus on what we want and take one step toward it every day, it's inevitably going to be ours. So one of the things I'm doing, challenged by my daughter, to get out of that rut I was living in, is to do one thing every day, just one little thing every day to stretch my comfort zone. And she found this book, Do One Thing a Day That Scares You, on my bookshelf early this year and said, "Oh, cool book, Mom," which is code for saying, "Hey, Mom, you might want to look at this and do this because your life is kind of ruddy and boring." And okay, I admit it was pretty boring. And that's okay. It's okay for us to go through periods of growth and periods of stagnation. But I was getting into a longer period of stagnation than I choose to admit. So today, day 189, what have we got? We've got a sayings day, and it's a little bit small, so I'm going to get the handy-dandy magnifying glass today. It says, "A man of genius makes no mistakes. His errors are volitional and are the portals of discovery," by James Joyce. A man of genius makes no mistakes. Basically, his errors are intentional because they're ways of discovering and making new connections, learning new things, and finding new ways to grow. I would say we have so many examples of this in history and so many people we can model. It's amazing. You know, think Thomas Edison, 10,000 different ways to not make the light bulb. But every time he didn't make the light bulb, he got closer and he made other discoveries that were able to create other industries and other things. So it was truly genius. I find from my own personal experience, I learn way more from the things that don't go right for me than the things that do go right. For example, just learning things on the computer nowadays as I'm taking my businesses from offline to online. If the first time I did something, say a webinar or used a new piece of software, I went through it and it worked out perfectly, it kind of sets me up for a false sense of security, thinking that that's how it's always going to be. And then when I run into a snag or a little obstacle, it's more frustrating because it went so well the first time. And that's true of so many things in our life. If the first person and the first relationship that you were in was awesome and amazing, and then your next relationship is terrible and dramatic, I think everything's relative. And so I think it just makes it seem so much worse if you have never had to overcome obstacles or problems and figure things out. So many people in the business world, for example, think that they're going to start their own business and everything is going to go smoothly and perfectly. I don't know where we get these Pollyanna ideas of that's how life is, but life life is awesome, but it isn't without challenges. If we weren't challenged, we would never appreciate the things that we do succeed at. So the challenge today is today's mistake and today's discovery. Well, it might be a mistake that I'm showing up on Facebook Live in my curlers. I may discover later on that it is or is not. I don't know. Today's mistake, I haven't really made one yet. I haven't been up long enough to make very many mistakes yet. So I will have to fill this in later today after I find out what kind of a mistake I make today and then what I discover and what I learned from it. I know that I'm really good at making mistakes, but I also know that I embrace them and I understand that they're showing me what doesn't work. But just because that doesn't work doesn't mean I won't figure it out. They're showing me that there's always another way. There's always another possibility. And so I know I used to get frustrated when I was younger by mistakes. And I think it's mostly because society judges us so harshly when we make mistakes. And I think it's just because we're they're judging themselves, and we're judging ourselves when we really notice people's mistakes. But really, nothing is ever a mistake. Everything happens for a reason, even if it's just to teach us something or show us something. So when you think of it that way, there are no mistakes, right? Everything is always working out for our betterment in some way, shape, or form, even if we don't necessarily feel that way at the moment. You know, that's true. You know, it could go as simple as when you say the wrong thing or when you say something to hurt somebody's feelings. That's a mistake, but you discover that behaving in that way maybe doesn't serve you or the other person very well. So there's always something we can learn from everything. So go out today, make it a fantastic day. Make some mistakes, because if you're making mistakes, at least we know you're moving forward and you're trying and you're in action. Make some mistakes and see what you learn from that. See what you discover. Often we learn, well, not often, we always learn way more from our mistakes than we do from our successes. Share in the comments below if that's true for you too. Think of a mistake that you've made that turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because I know I can think of dozens of those. All right, that's it. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.